All right, guys. Hey, we have Heather here today. I'm so excited. She literally has her luggage because she just flew into Arizona from Cincinnati to do this podcast with us and to do a live podcast event with us.
Super
and
excited.
She's our business partner who sold 90 homes last year with her husband, and it's just an all-around amazing human. So I'm so excited to have you in and hear your perspective on Real.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. So how long have you been at Real now?
So about 6 months. We came over in November of 24.
And where'd you move from?
We were at a small cloud-based brokerage, and we were there for about 6 months. But prior to that, we were at a Keller Williams office for 6 years, well 5 years.
Yeah, you loved your experience at Keller Williams too, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was good while we were there.
Why don't you tell us like a little bit, tell us about your experience at Keller Williams and then moving to like a small startup company and why you decided to come to Real.
Yeah. So our kind of backstory is that my husband and I, we started corporate jobs, moved to Cincinnati, and we started flipping houses. And then I was like, I got to get my license after the first couple transactions because I really liked the process and we're looking at opportunities for other income streams, right? And so we had our agent that was selling the flips for us before I got licensed. Her name's Ginger, and she's still a great friend to this day, and she's actually at Real now with us.
Love that.
But she sold our flips for us, and she was at a Keller Williams, and a bunch of other good agents that we knew that were investors and everything were also at different Keller Williams franchise offices. And so it just kind of was a super natural, easy fit. And then, you know, they really pride themselves in training with new agents, and so that was a really, really good place for me to plug into. Great agents, you know, they did have great trainings, great support, just a lot of really good things that they had to offer. And so we were there for a couple years. And then I feel like for us, we really, we plugged into real estate aggressively from the very beginning. We never...
Not shocked. I feel like your personality is very much like that.
Yeah, we're not ever the part-time agent.
Yeah.
You know, it was like we quit our corporate jobs and we started flipping, and then it was all real estate, mind and realm. So we kind of got to a point where we were wanting more higher level training and people that were really going to dig into our business and help us grow. Mm-hmm. So we started outsourcing to coaching, and our first coach that we had was amazing, super, super good. And we had him for 2 years, and he helped us start from no Google business page. We didn't have systems. We didn't have an assistant. We had nothing to start with. So when he first met with us, it was okay, we were starting from the ground up. And at that point, we had sold, I think, maybe 26 houses that first year being licensed.
Still pretty good.
It's really good.
So it was a great first year, but it was total just flying by the seat of my pants kind of a thing. So that coach, John, he was awesome. And he also started to help us be able to tap into the luxury market. So in Cincinnati, the average price point is about $300,000, and that's gone up a little bit over time because just the home values have gone crazy since COVID. But we really, the first couple deals that I did were our own investment properties, and so it was a $72,000 transaction, 117, and I just was thinking, man, I'm working so hard. And you can do the same process, have great clients, great properties and everything at all price points. So one thing that was on the radar pretty quickly was trying to increase that average sales price. So our coach, we got our first luxury listing, and he was awesome to help us.
Who is your coach?
John Reagan through Tom Ferry Coaching.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so he was fantastic, made a huge difference, and all of a sudden we had a lot of the systems. And so that helped us be able to continue to scale and grow. And so we hired our first full-time assistant. I think it was about 3 years into the business, and that was a game changer, being able to leverage extra support. And at that point, we started to notice at a lot of these big coaching events that a lot of agents were at cloud-based models. And so some of our local our connections through the coaching program introduced us to a smaller cloud-based model. And we were approached about helping open Ohio and Kentucky for that brokerage because I have my broker's license.
And that was 5, correct?
Yep, in Ohio and Kentucky.
I had never even heard of that until right before the podcast.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
Yeah, I had it until she called me and told me about it.
Yeah.
And what I like about this pod too is it's transparent. We try to, you were at KW, then you went to 5, now you're at Real.
Yep.
You obviously moved through that process for a reason. So the move from KW to 5 was seeing your colleagues and peers in the coaching platform, going to a cloud-based model. What was it that made you think, hey, I'm going to go there? And then why was it short-lived?
Yeah. So I think relationships are super, super important, right? And so there was one specific person that we really loved and was the big reason why we went there. And it was the opportunity to think man, we can have a local impact with national collaboration, and we can kind of start a hub in the Cincinnati.
Too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Early adapters and everything. Early adopters. And so the relationship was really what opened that. And then there were enough other good people that were there that were okay, We're confident. So we took the leap, and then we had some agents come with us that were good friends. And so it was kind of like, okay, we tasted the ability to have local collaboration and the national collaboration. But what we also realized was that the weight that we felt like our household was carrying, trying to open brokerages on a state level, and then also agents that are from around the country, trying to make sure that we're providing training and we're providing support, and it just, it was taking a lot out of us.
A little heavier lift than what you imagine.
Yeah, and this was all last year, and at the end of the year, our little team ended up doing 90 transactions. So there was a lot of soul searching and trying to figure out what was going to be best for us. And, we recognized that everybody has different priorities and needs and what you want. Right. And so for us, we wanted to be able to have a big impact and help people, but we didn't want to have to carry it all ourselves.
Yeah.
So while we were at the small cloud-based model, we were seeing all the power that Real had, and, the saying that we is greater than me, that really sunk in. So I'm like, man, if you can have a whole bunch of powerhouse people with the great, work hard and be kind, just the whole vibe of Real sat so well with us.
The culture of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there were a lot of things that were pulls and pushes for us to make that move to Real. But I just think big picture, it's been great for us because some of the independent agents that have followed us to Real, they've been able to lean into everything that we're doing with our groups, but then they've had so many unlimited resources and all of the systems and the back end, just being able to get paid on time, having your compliance paperwork processed easily, all the platforms are super, super easy.
Do you feel like that do you feel that leverage now that you've been here 6 months?
Yes.
You do? Can you give me maybe a couple examples of where that's shown up for you?
Yeah, so I there's a couple of people, the people for us was a huge part of making the decision. It wasn't just for us, right? Because we had people that were moving with us. And so there's a specific agent named Adam, he was at the other first brokerage in Keller Williams with us too, and he saw Real first, and he was ready to go to Real, but then we were like, we're going to 5. And he said that ultimately he decided to go to 5 because there would be us with this local presence of great agents. So then, down the road when we were like, hey, what do you think about Real still? And he's like, well, actually, I could get the best of everything.
Yeah.
So he was super excited about it. And he saw, and then what we have come to find is that every agent, whether they're a large team owner or they're an independent agent or someone that is selling part-time and just wants extra support, there are so many different types of trainings that they can plug into. So we just had an agent join today that she's in California and she has a virtual assistant. And when I was showing her the internal side of Real Academy, I just pulled up virtual assistant, and there's tons of trainings on that.
Oh, I love that.
Or if you want to do YouTube, or if you want to grow your Google business page, or if you need to figure out how to grow a team and train agents, there's so many unlimited resources.
Yeah.
It's
well, I
just
think
amazing.
that the really great thing about Real Academy too is you're not just having somebody who maybe sold back in the day and they're teaching, or somebody who does 10 deals a year and is teaching. You have to be an elite agent, which means you're selling 20 to 30 homes a year, and they're active. They're in the mud selling. So that's who's teaching. And I think that's so important, especially because, the independent brokerage I was at forever, it was more like, oh, we can only hear the same listing presentation so many times from somebody who sold back in 1998, And so I just think it's so powerful to have that training at your fingertips.
Yeah, I totally agree. The level and the standard, and then part of it is they have to present kind of to a board and get it approved before they can actually go online and teach people.
Yeah.
So it's not just people throwing something together last second that's inconvenient for them, and it's not just taking volunteers from anybody who wants to talk in front of people. It's actually super qualified, great leaders and producers.
Yeah.
And the company's been smart about incentivizing those people, because once you hit elite, you can go get another $8,000 of stock if you give back to the community and teach. So it's if you just ask people to teach, sure, they're going to do that. But now you incentivize them with an additional $8,000 every year.
Yeah.
The top people in the nation are now incentivized to pour in to the group as a whole and share their best practices.
Well, just think how powerful that is. If you have an opportunity, let's say I'm a top YouTube agent and I'm able to teach every month in Real Academy, and all of a sudden my nationwide network explodes because all these agents at Real, there's 25,000, get to see my face attached to YouTube. Imagine what that does for your business.
Yeah. Referral opportunities. I think other agents that are not at the brokerage see you leading these trainings and they get little snippets of it.
Yeah.
And it's a huge incentive, I think.
Oh, it's so big. I love that.
For me, Real is my business is layered in the sense of it's like the investor. So you're a flipper. So it's like the investor first and then agency, and then you can have title and lending. But Real is this catch-all of a community that my main avatar is realtors. They send me investment deals that we make money together, or you can join me at Real Brokerage. And I love the sense that like this really wide network can create connections with all of them, but they don't have to work for me. Right. And like Kristen and I didn't have to create a business together, but we're in business together. And you're in business with us from across the nation. And when Real, what they solved was this connective tissue that we can all grab onto and share without all the BS that comes with starting companies. And once I saw that, I was like, oh my God, like I just met you today and gave you a big hug and you go, hey, Ben Graham. And I'm like, oh, that's you? I'm like, no way. I had coffee with him. And I told him, hey, you're at the right spot. You'll still have access to me. And he was like, oh, I feel so much better. So that's been really fun for me.
That's so cool. And I love how that works out.
It's been super cool to that point too, just because of that being able to reach on a national and local level, right? So like Ben, for example, he's here in Arizona with you guys, and we're able to help.
Shout out to Ben.
And he has local support, but also the support from you guys.
Exactly.
And you guys were already connected in the coaching and the other brokerage.
It's cool. It's been amazing. And, you know, we talked to Susan down in Southern Arizona.
Who I get to meet Friday.
Yeah, officially she's coming up for the Moms in Real Estate event. But she, you know, they were at like a really small boutique brokerage that was great, and she wanted to be able to tap into other opportunities. So she's on the Women's Council for Arizona Board of Realtors. And, you know, she's been able to partner with us in Cincinnati, and just so many opportunities to help each other in different ways.
So speaking of opportunities, I know that you were able to tap into co-sponsorship, and I think a lot of people maybe don't know what that is. Do you want to explain it from your perspective and why you decided to do that?
Sure, yeah. So Kristen is one of our sponsors, and one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to be able to partner up with you is because of the way that you build communities. I think it's super powerful from a professional and a personal level. You know, like I feel like I need more great friends, and I love to provide value to those different groups of people that I work with and, you know, go to church with and everything. And obviously there's a lot more to it, but that's kind of like what you're known for, right, is connecting people. And then we also named Jeff Bannon as one of our sponsors, and he, I think, is a great connector in like a whole different realm. So he's really focused on growing your online presence for agents with YouTube and Instagram. And so he's a super natural, organic place for us to partner and leverage into, because that's where a lot of our business has grown and come from, is just being online, because we were transplants moving to Cincinnati for corporate jobs.
Yeah, your guys' videos are great.
Thank you.
So I think it's important for anyone listening to understand what that means. So when you come over to Real, you pick a sponsor, and what Real's done is it allows you to pick two. So it's basically really cool because she gets me and she gets everybody that I'm attached to, like Templeton. And then she also has this other guy who's providing this other value to her and her husband, and then all of the people that he's connected to. So when she came in and she's looking for leverage, now she has all these people who are financially incentivized to help you, which is so cool.
Yep. And I will add to that too. It really is like a deep lineage of great strengths, because like Templeton has a background in investing and, you know, a lot of other things too. And then just being able to go up when we were coming on board, meeting with Dustin and like hearing from Clayton Gitz when he did the technology training, Brandon and I were like, that's amazing.
He's so great.
So good.
Yeah.
He's probably the best presenter.
He is.
Yeah.
I'm just like, can everyone just go on his Thursday call and then talk to me after?
Well, and that's what's cool too, is the culture of it. I have not found one person where we have argued over a potential agent coming over, or it's like, hey, I'm totally down to co-sponsor. Or, oh, you're in my network, or Ben's a perfect one. Name them. Okay, now you're 3 layers deep, but that's still a win for me. And it's this abundant mindset that is just so different than this like dog eat dog world of like, that for me, because that was one of the main things. I was at EXP in 2017 for 3 months. And I was good.
Forget that.
I was good at it. I was like, I had like 40 sponsors and like 100-person organization in 3 months.
That is crazy.
But they wouldn't let me, at that time, they wouldn't let me do my investment deals. And I make almost all my money doing that. I was like, hey, no matter how good this is, it doesn't make sense for me. So I left. But one of the main things that I hated during that time, because I'm always on social media and I'm always posting and I was like getting agents like crazy, I had no shortage of 10 to 15 phone calls of other agents calling me pissed off that someone named me sponsor.
Totally.
And I was like, this isn't even worth the
Right.
freaking pain of this thing. It was just so annoying. And I was like, if you were valuable enough, they would have named you. And this go round,
Ouch. It's true though, right?
It's a hard truth.
well, that's what I would say to them, right?
Yeah.
And but that was a great experience, and I had great friends there, and that would have been good timing at that time because they did grow something special, and it was good while it was good. And this is just my opinion. But now, this second time through, not having to deal with that, and this is like, I actually kind of forgot about this till this like triggered this. I'm like, oh, I hated that.
Yeah.
That was like the worst. I'm sure you dealt with it a lot.
Yeah, all the time, or like, don't name Kristen as sponsor. I would have happened to me, and I'm just like, it's so not like that. I actually had a call yesterday with a girl who I met at the pool last week, and I'm talking to her. There was a big women's conference here, and she's like, I haven't told anybody, but like, I'm about to join Real. And I'm like, that is so cool. And I'm like, tell me more. Like, tell me who you're connected to. She told me all about it. And she ended up, we did a call because she's going to become my St. Louis chapter leader for Hello Culture. And I said, one of the coolest things is like, I would like, the culture of Real is so where like, I'm so happy that you have those people, and me and you can still be in business together and like collaborate together. And I plugged her into all these different calls that we have, but I like, that wouldn't have happened at the other company at all. Like it would have been like, hey, you should name me a sponsor, and here's why. That's not how it should go.
Yep. And I think that culture is seen in the, like up top leadership and all throughout all of the agents.
It's so
company-wide.
true.
And I love that. It's not just, someone up at the front saying that we're trying to achieve something, but it's actually felt and lived throughout the entire company.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, one thing I want to touch on just to pivot a little is you have really tapped into this luxury side, right? Like your average price point in Cincinnati is around $300,000, and you've been selling houses over $1 million. A lot of times I think people think luxury has to be tied to some brokerage that has a certain name or this. How has the experience been having Real next to your name as you became that luxury presence in your market?
Yes. So I do think that there are a lot of those beliefs out there, and just speaking from my own personal experience, right?
Because you're doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it. We changed twice into a very small cloud-based model, and then to Real, which is a lot more established with a lot of national presence, right? And I took my biggest listing while I was at the small cloud-based model at a $1.5 million listing that was previously listed. It became a canceled listing because it didn't sell for 6 months during the summer, and that was from a local brokerage that has a great so-called presence.
Yeah.
But they moved and they did not ask a question about what that small cloud-based model was. Like, they literally didn't care. It was me as the agent being able to show proof of what we do and, having the track record and being able to speak to it.
And Real has created, and I know you're not in it yet, so you might not know all the specifics, and I know I don't, but they have Real Luxury.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What, to your understanding, what is that? And I think you're one closing away on luxury.
So you have to do 6 that are, I think it's above $750 price point.
Okay.
And obviously, like, if you're in huge luxury markets like California or Florida,
Arizona now, it's crazy.
Yeah, Arizona. I think it's a lot easier to do, but especially like you said in Cincinnati, our average price point is around $300,000.
Yeah.
But we're on 5, and we have a couple pending that are over $1 million right now. So we're gonna hit that.
So you'll hit
soon.
Real Luxury. What does that mean? To your understanding, I know you're not in it yet, but what does
so
that do
to
for
me,
the
why
agent?
I'm excited about it, number one, is you get to plug into it's kind of like an inner circle training. So all of these agents that have qualified and met those sales requirements, they also have to do Institute for Luxury Home Marketing training. So there's not just sales experience selling highest price point, there's actual formal training and education that goes into it,
That's awesome.
which I love because there is a difference between just kind of figuring some things out as you go versus being trained by some expert professionals. So it's a whole network. And I think, number one, that's a referral network, because if agent in Florida has someone moving to Cincinnati or in my area, then they can refer that. And that's a really great way to tap into higher price points.
Absolutely.
And then also just being able to collaborate. I had mentioned my coach being a good luxury agent. And I think just being able to have access to people that are kind of in like the club with you, that you're all pouring into each other and collaborating on ideas. And I think that keeps you cutting edge in the real estate industry.
Yeah.
I've found in my luxury stuff, so I've flipped a lot of higher end luxury where I'm the investor, so I'm the owner, and I've hired different agents to sell it. And almost always the agent, even though I'm an agent, sometimes I've hired Shannon Gillette, who's a friend, she's at Real with us, or
Yep.
I've hired Bobby Lieb in Central Phoenix, right? Just because at that time in my life, they were better suited to sell the thing.
Yep.
And their network and connection almost always sold it.
Yes.
So when you have that sort of like mastermind community that is all trained and skilled on this thing, a lot of the luxury sells kind of in a hand-to-hand,
Yes.
broker-to-broker relationship base.
Yep.
And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think just being able to think bigger picture, I think sometimes if you're just in a small local mindset, you have limited reach, right?
Yep.
But because of all the things that we're involved in on a big national scale, it helps us be able to connect and tap into different ways of marketing that no one locally really even thinks about doing. You know, and one of those things is tapping into U.S. Census Bureau migration patterns. That was something one of our agent friends at Real taught us about, is so you can see on the Census Bureau data where people are coming from that are like trackable patterns, right? You can actually see where the big clumps of people are coming from.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Are you seeing a ton from California right now head
Yep.
towards, it's
There's,
like, I think it's like Nashville, Dallas, Phoenix.
yeah, I think a lot of people, like we saw a big wave when COVID happened because all of a sudden people could work remote and they didn't have to be tied into San Francisco or like really expensive markets.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And people are some things are political, some things are prices of homes and property. But just being able to think big picture about it. And then also, there's a luxury community in Northern Kentucky where we work that is custom built, like really nice high end area. And I think they said about 95% of the homeowners there are from out of state.
Wow.
So when
Wow.
when you originally see them getting moved in, they all have different license plates from different parts of the country. And I think that is amazing. And it goes to show that if you are marketing and promoting luxury listings or new construction, being able to have a big national reach is so important because a lot of people moving to Cincinnati are coming from different areas.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us, like, you and your husband are a domestic partnership at Real. What does that mean?
So we're married. That's what it means.
Does it look any different than if you're just a solo agent at Real?
So basically we have a household cap. So it's not like he sells something, I sell something. We both have to separately pay a cap. So that's nice. And just being able to.
Is that just a 12K cap?
Yep.
So you guys get to share the 12K cap without having to have like a 12 and a 6.
Right.
Okay, so you have
Yep.
the 12.
What about your annual fee? So at Real, you have an annual fee that comes out of your first 3 transactions. It's $750 a year, $250, $250, $250. When you and your husband onboarded, was it a fee for one of you?
That's a good question. I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
But I do know everything we're processing through, like we're both on the contracts and everything logistically, but we're just processing things technically under my name as the team leader.
I think it's
but
just one. I think they only get charged one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so too.
But I mean, we function kind of just as one entity.
How have
Yeah.
the economics been running the team now moving to Real? Have you guys been able to net more money? How's the process of actually like being active, high producing realtors been?
Yeah, so I think the cap is huge for a lot of agents.
Yeah.
There's been so many agents that we've talked to that are paying over $100,000 to their brokerages,
So
and it makes me want to
crazy.
throw up
I
because
know.
that's
Yeah,
a
like-
lot of money, and they don't even realize that they don't have to
And
do
they
that.
can't even answer what are you getting for that.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part too.
Yeah, I think that some people have this limiting belief that they need a big physical office space to be valid or
Yeah.
to look legit. But it's like we talked about for luxury listings. It's like no one's asking me to,
Yeah.
it's more of like what service can you actually provide. So I'm getting sidetracked. But
I had it. Well, just to stay on that vein though, I had a conversation yesterday with an agent that's coming over, and he's at a productive indie brokerage in town, who I found out in this meeting was like not saying such great things about Real, and I was like, oh, I've never really heard that, to be honest.
Yeah, I've literally not.
I was
heard
like,
that.
I really haven't heard that. He's like, yeah, like they just talk about how terrible it is, and he reached out to me and was like, I want to hear it from you. Like, can you show it to me? What he found out in that meeting was the splits were better, the technology package on the back end was better, there's now a national network he can tap into, the economics are better with the potential in rev share and stock. And he was just like, well, why were they telling me that? And I was like, I don't know, dude.
haters gonna hate.
Yeah, right. I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know, but like,
Yeah.
Well, that's what we talked about right before we went on air too. Like you were saying, like there's another company that's saying like that we don't have any producers, and here you are.
Yeah.
Do you
Like
find
our
that?
team, we're a very small and mighty team, right? But we're selling 90 houses and
But do you feel like your experience with like meeting people, do you feel like you're the top dog or like you have nobody to collaborate with because you're the only
not
producer?
at all.
Yeah.
No, I think there are so many huge examples that you can tap into. And like, yeah, we've figured some things out, but there's so much more for us to learn. And so I literally think I could do like a full-time job, just plug into Real Academy, you know, watching the past trainings and plugging into all the live ones, and I still wouldn't be able to get through all of them. And they're all, like we had talked about before, they're great trainings. So as far as, you know, everybody's going to put different labels on different brokerages, but I think each agent or each team leader has to actually talk to the source directly. Like find someone that you look up to and admire and then ask them about their experience.
Yeah.
Because I mean, in my experience, it's like all of the trainings that I've plugged into have been phenomenal, and they're from people selling the type of real estate that I want to sell.
Yes.
And there's a good mix, right? Because I'm not just looking for agents that are selling more than 100 houses a year.
Totally.
I think as, you know, as your goals adapt and change over time too, is like we might want to cut back eventually and do less business. And maybe if we're tapped into our average price point being $1 million instead of, you know, a market that's 300,000, we could sell less.
Yeah.
And there's ways to learn how to do that through the people at Real.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I have found my experience where I'm not ever having to sell Real. Like I'm just running good, profitable businesses.
Yep.
Which I think is kind of like I run good stuff, right? And you have Hello Culture now. That's what it's called now.
Yep.
I still want to call it the old name sometimes.
Don't call it the old
I'm not. So you run a really great national business, right?
Yeah.
You run that. You should be here running great businesses. But I have found if I just raise my hand on the internet or at networking events and saying I'm at Real, just letting people know I'm there, I'm not prospecting anyone. They're reaching out to me saying, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about this? Has that been your experience?
Yes. It's been crazy, honestly, because I felt like a lot of the other brokerages is they're constantly have people assigned to recruit, to go try and headhunt people and pull them over to the brokerage and give them different deals off and on, right? But at Real, just in the 6 months that we've been here, for example, and like for us, I reached out to Kristen.
Yeah,
you didn't
totally.
come after me, you know, and I saw that you moved and I was kind of watching things and I talked to a couple different agents. Like I went proactively looking for the information. And then since we have been here, it's been amazing because there's just people kind of, some people are like coming out of the woodworks. Like someone listened to the podcast that we did. Some people just saw
Didn't you
the
have a couple
post.
People from that? That
There's,
great.
you know, I just like posting a little announcement on social media. We have not been super loud and obnoxious about it. So that's opened tons of doors. And then there's a couple people that like, you know, someone that's a different brokerage that Real's not a good fit for. They'll say, hey, my friend's looking for a place.
Yeah.
Can you talk to him? And that works out that way, you know? So it's just being open to the conversation. And one of the most recent ladies that joined us just today in California, she had someone introduced us that, you know, she was looking at Real, and I didn't have to sell her at all on anything. It literally was like, okay, tell me about your business. And we just, like, I genuinely was excited to hear about what she needs, what her goals are, where she's been, like where she's going. And, you know, I showed her just the inside of Real's platform, Reason. Showed her the training, showed her how the commissions process, compliance and everything, how it's just in one simple spot. And at the end, she's just like, you didn't even have to sell me.
That is, I will
So
tell
exciting.
you, like anytime you can show a productive agent the back end and what it looks like, they're like, that is amazing. I have had more people tell me that that is what sold them on coming over than anything else.
Yeah.
Well, simplicity equals time and time equals money, especially when you have staff or you have an admin, you have TC. If you're taking their time and compressing it down, you can now put more volume on the same expense.
Yeah.
And that's been, Rachel just said it on our last podcast. She's like, what used to take 2 hours now takes 30 minutes.
Totally.
And it's in one spot. So like that simplicity like breeds production.
Yeah.
Because if it's complex, you don't do it.
Well, it's time and energy, right?
Yeah.
If you're bogged down, getting frustrated with a system or trying to make things work, your energy can't be spent on better things. And I totally agree.
Awesome.
What is one thing that has surprised you over the last 6 months that you weren't expecting to get from Real?
I don't know. I wish that Real could have been what it is today, like a year ago, so that we could have avoided a lot of turbulence and, you know, trying to just figure things out. I'm grateful for the experiences that we had, but I think once we moved over, it really, like people say, you can't really understand it until you're in it. And that's so true, because once we plugged into it and I was like, okay, we've got everything situated. Now we can just like run our business in and plug into everything. And it's been so simple and in an exciting way. And like, the people, the trainings and everything, I'm like, these are actually really good trainings.
Yeah.
And I feel like my husband Brandon and I are pretty critical about like having a great training planned out and then executing it. Like, it's hard to, you know, you can have a great producer, someone that sells a ton of houses, but being able to speak and convey and train and lead is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And so it was just super refreshing to just plug into everything and be really happy immediately.
To that point, well, something that's felt great for me, and I'm sure you guys can relate, is that everybody that I've brought over, I'm like, come here for real, not for me. And in the past, I had to be the cherry. I had to be the prize.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which gets heavy when you have hundreds of people now that
Which
are looking to
both
you.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, look, guys, make this move because real makes the most sense for you. And once they see it, and I'm the cherry on top. I'm the bonus, but I'm not the reason.
Yep.
And that has been such a weight shifter for me, where I'm
my
not
gosh.
feeling like, I genuinely know in my heart I'm lining you up with the right place.
Yes.
This is the reason why you're here. And I don't have to now go execute on some exorbitant promise.
Right.
I'm just the additive, and that's been a big help.
Well, and I think that goes to, you know, the common word that we're getting when it's like, what has your experience been? It's like easy. Like it just flows. And so I think that just goes to it because we're not carrying the weight of everything on us. If we, you know, if I had to go take off for a month, nothing crumbles. And I love that, you know?
Yep. I think too, kind of talking about it being easy, a lot of times we focus on big teams or team leaders that are doing a whole bunch of transactions. And I think that Real is also super, super simple and easy for an independent agent.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I think that there's kind of two levels. Sometimes agents want to sell more real estate in the same amount of time, or they want to do less work and just make the same amount, right? And so they can do that by plugging into the system that's being easy. And you have Leo, who my friend Ginger did a recent podcast interview with me at our house, and she talked about how she said, sometimes I like Leo as much as I like my husband because he helps me do everything.
If
and
you're listening, guys, Leo is the AI that Real has created to answer all of our questions.
Yes, exactly. So it's super easy.
You use it a lot?
Yeah, and honestly, we have our full-time assistant, so I have to plug in occasionally.
Yeah.
But even for someone, like we have a new assistant, and she's not familiar with the real estate industry previously, she's amazing and super reliable and a good person, and so she's been plugging into it, and she's been able to figure it out. So that says a lot.
That's really nice.
I like that you make the point about big team leads and builders. We're gonna build, we're gonna win. The agent that I have found that really needed it this last couple years as transaction count was down, I loved seeing, because the model's flipped on its head and your personal sponsors pay you the most money. I've had agents that have brought 2 or 3 agents over, and then they got like an $1,800 check from a closing that they really needed that month. And it gave them this residual income. They don't own a team. They're not going to build a team. They don't have the resources to build a team. But now they diversified their income. They were able to help someone else get into this part. It genuinely helped them. And I think at other spots, it's like the rich get richer, and then like the people that are like really on the front lines aren't really getting much of a reward.
Yep.
And to see that reward being shared with the everyday agent has been so cool for me.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that at all? Have you seen that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, you know, Real is an opportunity to reset the social structure. And so, you know, before at other brokerages, it's kind of like the recruiter or whoever that public face is, they're the ones kind of getting like recruiter bonuses and getting paid to do that, right? But I love it because the agent to agent relationships are more authentic and they're real. And like for me, I'm on the front line in production helping other agents, and, you know, we can actually collaborate and understand and support each other. And so like Adam, one of the agents that had joined with us that has a co-sponsor too, he was the one that actually got to leverage into Real and us.
That's
and
cool.
He's already got agents that are in Austin, Texas that are joining him that just are, or, you know, he's
And that's
constant.
in your network.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're benefiting from that, and it's an indirect thing that maybe we're not directly supporting those agents, but through Adam, he's supporting them and plugging them into the networks, and they're benefiting from all the things at Real.
And what's cool is if those agents called you, called Brandon, called me, called Templeton, we're all here for them.
Super happy to help.
That is what's so powerful.
Yep. I think too, like we've been trying to do more like a Zoom call with whoever wants to join, it's open to everybody, right? But being able to just kind of connect people, that whole connection thing, because a lot of the people that are being attracted to us are like women doing 25 or 30 homes a year. So I love that they're independent agents. They're like really good humans that are just focused on taking care of their family and taking care of their clients. There's not a big team thing that's a big ordeal. It's super simple and it's like perfect for them. So if I can like make all those connections and you can have friends that are kind of in that same phase of life and business, it's huge.
It is
so
huge.
they can all benefit too as they attract the agents just like them.
Yeah.
I love it. Where do people find you if they were going to want to connect with you more? How do they get in touch?
Yep. Well, if you Google me, you should find me pretty quick. But I'm most active on Instagram. So DMs on Instagram.
What's your IG handle?
It's Heather Pilcher 1.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
If you look up Heather, it's Pilcher.
Awesome.
Awesome.
We
Loved
appreciate
having
you
you
being
on.
here.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. This has been fun.